Hi! Are the Woodpecker today? Yes, I begin the dresser. Jean-François, a former co-worker, asked me if I could make him a dresser similar to those pictures. He wants 9 drawers instead of doors. I answered, of course. And here's the plan I came up with. He and his wife loved it, but I need to do it now. The first thing I do is to get all the birch I need. Okay, I have wood for 2 projects here. But since I have tons of wood to surface, I begin by removing all the cutter inserts from my thickness planer and sharpening them. Here's the link to the jig I made to sharpen them. When the 27 of them are sharp, it's time to put them back on. I also changed the cutter of my jointer. This was well overdue. I never changed the cutters, they are the original ones as the day I made this jointer. And now I can sort the wood. 1 pile for clear pieces, 1 for a bit of figure wood, and the 3rd one for a lot of figures. I'm going to use the clear wood for the exterior of the dresser. But I even need to sort this pile because not all the pieces are straight. Now I can finally cut a bunch of small boards a bit longer than the sides of the dresser and surface one side. Now that the sideboards are surfaced, I need to do the same thing with the long ones for the top. And since I have all the exterior wood surfaced on one side, I need to surface the other side. This took a long time, but it's done now. I also need to have 2 straight edges. This took the better part of the day, even if Renée came to help. This would have taken even more time if she hadn't. But now I can glue the big top panel. I was super careful when I placed the boards in place. First, the glue line would be almost invisible, and also I've alternated the wood grain direction. I also mark all the boards so I would know how to put them back on just like that in the future. Now I'm ready to glue this. The first thing to do is to protect the clamps. Next, I spread a bit of glue and clamp this. To help keep the glue up straight, I also clamp some boards across the glue up. Then I can apply pressure. Right after that, I don't wait to scrape off the glue on this side of my glue up. The other side gets scraped the next day after the clamps are removed. Now it's time to glue another big panel. But since this wood will be for the internal structure and it will never be seen, I use wood with more character. I also glue 2 other small panels that will be the sides of the dresser. Here we can see all the panels I've glued. This is all the wood I'll need for the case of the dresser. The next day, the glue is dry, and I begin by removing the big hard glue drips. I don't want this glue to damage the sandpaper of my drum sander. And for several hours, I pass all the exterior panels inside the drum sander. Then, I'm not done sanding. I still need to finish the sanding with the orbital sander. Finally, I have all the exterior. But I'm not done yet. I need to rip the other glue up narrower so they can go through my thickness planer. And I plane all this to the same thickness as my top and sides. Then I need to, yet again, sand this smoother. When everything is well sanded, I can rip strips for the interior frames of the dresser. Okay, I have a bunch to cut. But it's not over yet. The long pieces also need to be cut to length. I begin by cutting one straight side first on all of them. Then, with all the pieces clamped one on top of the other, I cut them all to the same length. But unfortunately, my saw can't cut to this thickness. Being super careful, I remove some strips and finish the cut. Now that all the pieces are cut to their exact length, it's time to mark where to cut some mortises and cut them. In fact, I only use one line and align everything at 18 millimeters on each side of the central mark. When all the mortises of the first frame are done, I try a dry fit. Since it's perfect, I make all the other mortises. With the 3 frames on top of each other, I can mark where I need to put the remaining mortises of the cross rails and make them. For good measure, I make another dry fit. But I'm not totally done. The bottom frame needs 2 more cross rails, which will hold the legs later on. Here it is. I have all the frames ready to be glued. But to make my life easier, I make the glue-ups in 2 steps. I begin by gluing all the dominoes in all the rails first. I make sure there's no excess glue around the dominoes. About half an hour later, the glue is dry enough so I can glue the rest of the frame. But I only glue the rails to the front stretcher. The back won't be glued. This way, the frame will be able to move because of the changes in humidity of the solid side panels. Now I just need to wait for the glue to dry. During this time, I can rip the exterior panels to their right width. Next, I cut one end straight on each panel. When it's done, I clamp both panels on top of the other, and in one pass, I cut both of them to the same length. Okay, I was expecting burning, so I left the panels a bit longer. Now I cut them to the exact size. Now that it's perfect, it's time to cut the top. Finally, I have all the pieces for the frame of the dresser. But before being able to assemble anything, I need some rabbets and grooves. I begin with the rabbets for the back. On the side panels, it's quite easy. But on the top, I need to make a stop rabbet at each corner. But I'm not done with the rabbits. I need bigger rabbets on both side panels for the bottom frame. To make this easier, I clamp both sides together. Job done. I will just need to remove the round corners later. And with the panels still clamped together, it's the ideal time to cut the two remaining grooves for the rest of the frames. I begin by marking the center of the frame. The grooves will be cut with the help of this guide. But to adjust it perfectly, I'm going to use this centering bit. This way, the fan's position will be dead on. I just have to put the guide close to where it should be. Here you can see it's close, but not close enough. So I move the guide a bit, and now it's perfect. I just need to change the centering bit for a straight bit and cut the grooves. It's too deep to be cut in one pass, so I have to make two passes. When I'm done, I turn this around, so the next groove is facing me. Do all the setup again, and cut the groove in two passes again. Now that it's done, I just need to clean the edges of the grooves. I use wooden angles to keep both sides in place while I mark where I should drill mortises and drill them. When the 16 mortises are cut, it's time to make a quick dry fit. With René's help, I can measure the exact size of the bottom frame. I remove some wood from both sides. This way, I'm sure the central divider will still be at the right place. But before I can try this, I need to remove the round corners. Now, with nice straight corners, it's easier to mark what I should remove on the bottom frame and remove it. Next, I can finally put the bottom frame in place. It's a good start, but I still have two more frames to put in place. I begin by cutting them to the right length. Next, using one of my tongue and groove bit sets, I cut a tongue to the size of the groove I made. This way, it's fast and easy. Okay, but I still need to remove a bit of wood at the front. When it's done, it's time to try both frames in place. Now I have to make some vertical separators. And for this, I make a bunch of homemade dominoes. I think I have enough, but I have to cut all the wood for that. And I need a lot. It's not over. I still need to mark for all the domino mortises and cut them. When I'm done, I still need to cut my homemade dominoes to the right length. It's quite long. I need 72 of them. But with a bit of patience, it's possible. And now, I do, just like I did on the interior frames, glue all the dominoes inside the rails first, and leave that to dry. And when this glue is dry, I pass all my small frames through the drum sander. This way, they will have the same thickness. Then, all this needs to be resanded with the orbital sander. All those frames will go like this. But they are too tall. I need to cut them. I start by making sure I have one straight side. Next, I take the measurement on the side and cut them. Here they are, all cut to the right size. I place the two top separators where they should be, mark their placement, and drill holes for the dowels. I also drill the holes on the top. Next, using centering pins, I mark where I should drill the holes in the frames and drill them. Next, I can put the first two vertical frames in place and the next one. Then, using the holes I already made, I can drill the holes into the vertical separator. I do this all over again for the other separators. Here again. Finally, at the bottom of the dresser. After a while, I have everything ready so I can glue the dresser. But before taking this apart, I identify where each piece goes with different color crayons. I don't want to figure out where all those pieces will go after I spread some glue. But before I can glue this, I need to sand everything that will be inside the dresser. Then I can begin. The first thing to do is to glue both sides to the top. This glue up will be done in stages, and this will take time. After spreading some glue, I ask for help to put the bottom of the dresser in place. But I don't glue it in place. It just sits there to keep everything square. I leave this like that overnight. The next morning, it's time to finish this glue up. First thing to do is to glue the first dowels in place. Then the first two small vertical frames. Add clamps and wait for the glue to dry a bit. About 1 hour later, I'm able to slide the first big interior frame. I stop before it's in place and spread glue inside the groove just at the end. As a matter of fact, all the frames are only glued at the front of the dresser. When the glue is spread, I push the frame in place. I put one clamp so this won't move from there. Then it's time to put some dowels into the two vertical frames. Next, I can remove the back part of the frame. Remember I said it was not glued to the frame? And just like I did on the front, I only put glue at the end, just to glue the piece I just removed. This way, if the solid side panels move with changes in humidity, the back frame can move also. Then I clamp this in place. I also need to add the rest of the dowels. Now I need to wait another hour. Then it's time to do this all over again, twice. The bottom frame is also just glued at the end, but this time around, it's in the rabbet. This is the last thing I was able to do on that day, because I need to leave this alone all night to dry. The next morning, I need to cut the excess dowels and sand this. Now the case of the dresser is almost completed, but I still have a lot to do, and to see it, you'll have to come back to the Woodpecker.